Hello guys, how are you? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Grace Atieno Luande. For those who are viewing me for the very first time, I deal with the teenage education, and today particularly I want to teach on how we can approach teenage problems as parents and be able to solve them. And number one thing we want to tackle is how to solve common problems you have with your teen child. And number one, setting curfew time for the teens. Setting curfew time for the teens is important in that way you can be able to interact more with your child. For example, if your child is used to staying out up to 8 o'clock in the evening and you set curfew that from 6 that child should not be outside the house, when he's in or she's in the house, you can be able to interact closely and freely with that child to be able to understand his or her problem more. Number two, give them one-to-one time. This is important aspect because when you have one-to-one time with your child, you'll be able to understand that child's problem, which is very important in the aspect of parenting. In that you can implement things that were not there before. For example, if you are not having dinner together, now you create that time in that every dinner or every lunch you have lunch together. In that particular time you can be able to interact more with your teenage child and solve any of her problems that might occur. Thirdly, try to understand teens' point of view. This is very important. Don't ignore that child, because we agree that these are children that are now maturing to adulthood. So they can differentiate between good and bad. And maybe your suggestions might not be good towards their growth. So allow suggestions to come in so that you can understand that child's aspect or point of view and understanding towards some things that you want him or her to implement in her life. This is very important. Parents, we should also bring to consideration on our children's point of view, which will help them develop themselves in an effective manner, and you will find that child is able to make good decisions, and this is influenced with how you can be able to handle his or her point of view. For example, a child might be good in mathematics and you want that child to do civil engineering, but you see that child, her interest is in medicine. So if you understand her point also, you will allow her as a parent to do the medicine course that she wants to do. Now, thirdly, we are at number 4. Help teens deal with emotional problems. Guys, this is another very important aspect. Help your children deal with emotional problems. And I remember in our previous videos, we've discussed on how these children can also be affected emotionally, and we said that if a child is affected emotionally, these things can lead to stress, which can also lead to depression. And depression we studied as an aspect of mental disorder that are also present in teenagers. And we also noted that there is aspect of advanced depression. So it is important to involve yourself fully towards that child's emotional problem, to enable him or her to understand that these problems are natural and any other person can have similar problems, but the way we handle these problems whenever they occur is what is important. So as a parent, please involve yourself emotionally towards that child. Now, we want to tackle the fifth point, which is trust your teenager. I know so many parents don't trust their children, but it is important to trust your child. In that, if your child tells you that she or he is going somewhere, trust that that child is going to that particular place. Because if there is mistrust, that child will also be nagging you, or she will be she will experience some discomfort in telling you wherever he or she is going, which will bring problems between the two of you. Last but not least, involve your teenager in decision making. And again, this is very, very important, in that we had studied earlier that in teenagers, it is not advisable that we implement dictatorship or authoritative type of parenting. And we agreed that in this aspect of this children's life, what they need is democratic method of parenting. And then there is whereby their views are also put into consideration. Involve that child in any decision making that you're making for him or her. For example, if you want her to go to a boarding school, you have to involve her. Tell her, please, not please, my daughter, I was thinking to take you to a boarding school. How do you see it? And also put the child's view into consideration. There is no need of taking her to a boarding school. Then after she has gone there, she starts giving you a lot of problems. And this is why it is very, very, very important to involve that child in your decision making, in every decision that you're making towards her life. I believe that today's episode has been very educative, and these things, if you put them into practice, you will have very healthy teenagers. Catch me in my next video, which is equally very, very interesting, and we will be able to tackle some of the problems that are facing teenagers in their daily activities. And remember, we touched that children are affected with whatever they experience in their environment. Environment is the biggest factor towards that child development. Catch me in my next video. If you like this video, please subscribe. Thank you very much, my viewers.